Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, or Bop Rap for short. So, one of my favourite genres of film is conspiracy thrillers. I've always liked them, particularly when I was younger, and it's always a genre that I've been drawn to, so I thought I'd go through my top 10. So let's talk about a few that didn't make the cut. So the first one I kind of thought of, recent one was something like State of Play, based on a BBC show, but with Russell Crowe. Again, quite enjoyed this, but not really got that kind of atmosphere that I'm looking for in a conspiracy thriller, and I think that's really important with the classic ones. They have a foreboding atmosphere and undercurrent to them. Another one I thought about was Blue Thunder. Gets forgotten about this, but it's a police conspiracy, military conspiracy with Roy Scheider and the great Malcolm McDowell. And it's about surveillance as well. With the Blue Thunder helicopter has the ability to watch people, which we've kind of given that over to Facebook now and mobile phones. But it's quite good. It kind of worth checking out, that one. Another one, I thought about JFK, but I've never quite bought into that film. Basically, he just brought two sort of conspiracy theories together in one film, Oliver Stone, and kind of riffed on, I believe, a book by an author called Don DeLeo. Possibly mispronounced his name there, but it's called Libra. So I think people sort of saw it as some kind of gospel truth, but it's not really to me. You get like a weird thing when you get a cartoon, like a family film, like a Zootopia, which is great, and it's actually got a police conspiracy thriller at the heart of it, which is really cool. But the two that I seriously considered, one is Capricorn One from 1978. Actually, both of these examples are. So this is Peter Hyams directing, who done another good film, Outland, with Sean Connery. Journeyman, really, but this is pretty effective. James Brolin, O.J. Simpson, Elliot Gould, I think Sam Waterston as well, and basically NASA, fakes a mission. I think it's to Mars, actually. I don't know if it's the moon. Don't quote me on that because I haven't checked the plot. I've not seen it for a while, but it's produced by Lou Grade, actually, so it's kind of weird. ITC, it's a bit of British money, but it's a good one. It's one of the last 70s conspiracy ones, if not the last. And then the other one is the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978, directed by Philip Kaufman. And this is interesting. It's science fiction, but I think it uses the atmosphere and the dread of the 70s conspiracy thriller. And the pod people in this, it's kind of suggesting them as some kind of power that wants to take over, from behind the scenes. So it differs in that way from the 1956 one. So not strictly conspiracy thriller, really, science fiction, but using that atmosphere and dread. So I'll get into my top 10. So my first choice, I watched this film again recently, and it is pretty daft. But what I like about it, it uses a lot of the tropes and stylistic devices and plot mechanisms of the conspiracy thriller, and that's 1997's The Game with Michael Douglas. So I think it's pretty far-fetched, but obviously the director David Fincher possesses great visual skill and awareness of the sort of classic 70s Hollywood film. So the cinematography is fabulous on this, particularly how he uses sort of black as a reflective surface. There's a bit where Michael Douglas goes in the toilet. I know it sounds innocuous, but the way that's shot and the lighting in the roof's just amazing. Douglas is really good, of course. He always is in something like this. But I think what's interesting about it is the score, the musical score by Howard Shaw, basically is inspired by a guy called Michael Small. And he's a guy who'll turn up later down the line. He's a film composer of top conspiracy scores. But what you have is a sort of, the underscore is melodic but oppressive, but the top piano part is atonal. It is not in the same key. It's going in and outside in a jazz way. From the main thing, they have a counter theme, as it were, and this works perfectly because it's suggesting like the world as we see it and what's happening with the conspiracy, but it's unsettling, and this works brilliantly in this film, but it'll even better as we go down the list. So that's my choice. 1997's The Game. Number 9 is one of the sort of granddaddies of the conspiracy thriller. 1966 is Blow Up, directed by Michelangelo Antonioni. So I actually got an Oscar nomination for this. So a key depiction of swinging London, and it's more about that, really. David Hemmings plays David Bailey, star photographer. There's a cool bit where he goes to the club and the Yardbirds is playing, and Jeff Beck smashes up his guitar. But basically, he goes to a park. He's photographing something in the park. When he gets back and develops the images, he thinks he sees a dead body or someone committing a murder. I think it's a dead body. And as he blows it up, it's kind of, it gets more distorted. And has he seen what he thinks he has? And then he gets involved with Vanessa Redgrave's character, who may or may not be involved in the conspiracy. And later, by the end of the film, nobody really knows. He goes back to the park, he's not sure, and then there's a weird sequence with some mime artists playing tennis. Obviously not really playing tennis, and it's that thing about, what you see, is it reality? Has he seen what he thinks he has? So again, it's kind of got a conspiratorial element, but it's more a depiction of swinging London, but it is an important influence on the conspiracy thriller, there's no doubt. Number 8 choice is not a little known film, but kind of came and went at the back end of the 90s, 1999. But I really like this, and it's directed by a guy called Mark Pellington. Didn't do much else, did a film called The Mothman Prophecies, but it's Arlington Road. So in this, Jeff Bridges plays a professor. His wife, I believe, has somehow been, maybe she's been an FBI agent, and she's been killed in some kind of raid on some kind of cult or militia compound, and he's sort of fought for justice about this. His since that's happened, and he often does lectures on FBI and conspiracies and things like that. Some new neighbours moved next door, a couple, Tim Robbins and Hope Davis. And gradually it just gets more paranoid that they are in fact, homegrown terrorists, effectively. Most terrorists are homegrown. And the plot goes on. There's a really paranoid barbecue, stuff like that. But the end's really good. This is what I call the patsy plot. So if you remember Lee Harvey Oswald said, "I'm just a patsy," i.e. inferring that there's a bigger conspiracy, and this is really where conspiracy theories come from. Is JFK. Although there's conspiracy thrillers and conspiracy ideas before that. There seems to be conspiracies about everything now. Princess Diana, and so on. But it's a really good film. It's got a great ending, and when the penny drops, it's a good payoff. So it's well worth checking out. Okay, my number 7 choice is actually been made in a TV series this recently, but 1975's 3 Days of the Condor. So this is directed by Sidney Pollack, with Robert Redford starring, so they're a great director-star partnership. I think they made 7 films together. It's got Faye Dunaway in it as well, so massive star wattage there. I mean, you've got 2 of the biggest superstars of the 70s there. Cliff Robertson, Max von Sydow as a sinister hitman. The opening of this is fantastic. If I'm honest, I think the opening setup of this is kind of what makes the film. The rest of the film isn't as good as the opening. Basically, he's a CIA bookworm, and his job is to read through literature and look for potential plots or messages and things like that. He goes to his office, all his workmates are there. Who wants coffee? I'll go out and get it. He goes out to get coffee. While he's getting coffee, Max von Sydow's crew go in and murder the whole office. And why, I can't quite remember. It's all to do with oil or something. There's a really good bit where he kind of taps in the telephone exchange, and he turns tables on his nemesis. I mean, this is kind of sort of like the Hitchcock Wrong Man plot. Even though they want to kill him, he's kind of been drawn into something where he's an innocent guy. Really, he's just a guy who reads stuff, conspiracies. It's a bit dodgy when he kind of kidnaps Faye Dunaway. I think one thing that lets this down is Sidney Pollack always used a guy called Dave Grusin, for his musical scores, and he's kind of got a jazz style, sort of easy listening style, pop style, and it doesn't quite work for this film. It's not got the oppressive thing about it. Later on, Pollack would make the film The Therm with Tom Cruise. Dave Grusin would do the score for that. Worked better on that film. Again, that's a kind of got elements of a conspiracy thriller. But 3 Days of Condor is a 70s classic, and I love Redford in that era. It's great. Okay, so my number 6 choice is Another Blow. It's Blowout, Brian De Palma's neglected 1981 classic. So basically, he's riffing on 2 films here, taking his cue from Michelangelo's Antonioni's Blow Up, obviously with the title, and Coppola's A Conversation. So John Travolta plays a sound guy. He's out trying to get sound and recordings for a film. He makes some horror films. He hears the sound of a car going off the road and into the water. A girl dies in it. But when he plays back the recording, he hears that a bullet has been fired. It's riffing on that thing in Blow Up, where the character's seen something. In this, he's heard something, and also in the film A Conversation, which might make an appearance, that involves recorded dialogue and what the characters heard there. But the other thing with this, it's again a Kennedy conspiracy. The girl going in the water with a politician, sorry, it mentions a politician car, is the Edward Kennedy Chappaquiddick conspiracy. There's actually a film about that with Jason Clarke you can watch. I think it's on Netflix or Sky Movies or something. Read up about Chappaquiddick, the Kennedys again. But it's a great film, a beautiful musical score by Pino Donaggio, very romantic. So not really using the conspiracy style. Great photography, and Travolta's topping it. Okay, my number 5 choice. Now we're getting into, these are all stone cold classics. So my number 5 choice is 1976's All the President's Men. I think what's interesting about this is the one is actually about a real conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory, it happened. It's the Watergate scandal. So even though it's 2 journalists investigating Nixon, the bugging of the Watergate officers, basically what happened in the Watergate Hotel in Washington, some guys got caught breaking in, and it was kind of went quiet, but basically Woodward and Bernstein tripped onto it, and they realised these guys, what they eventually discovered, these guys were trying to bug the Democrats office next door to get intel. And as it goes on, it goes all the way to the top. Basically, Nixon, he authorised this, and he had tapes that would indict him, but Nixon kept his tapes, he resigned, and Gerald Ford took over and basically pardoned him so the country just wouldn't freak out. But if you watch Ken Burns' documentary about Vietnam, I mean, Nixon's a prize arsehole. It's just wrong. But it's a great film, but the conspiracy thriller element comes in with the danger. They meet a guy played by Hal Holbrook, which you don't really see, in a dark car park. I think it's some reference character, and he's called Deep Throat. And he's their mole, giving them intel. It plays on that thing of their lives in danger because there's dark forces at work. Massive box office hit, Oscar nomination. Alan J. Pakula's only Oscar nomination for Best Director. I think Gordon Willis shoots this, The Prince of Darkness. So it's a great film. So my number 4 choice is, it's that man again, it's Alan J. Pakula. I think this is the most paranoid of all these films. And it's 1974's The Parallax View with Warren Beatty. Just quickly, Pakula made a film called Klute with Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland in 1971. Again, this is a police thriller. He's a private detective. So it's not really a conspiracy thriller, but it has a really conspiratorial atmosphere. Again, Gordon Willis, the Prince of Darkness, does the cinematography. It's got like that feeling of being watched and things like that. And this is where I think a lot of the conspiracy thriller, 70s conspiracy thriller stylistic elements get kind of developed. I think Michael Small might do the music on that, but I'm not sure. But anyway, actual fact, All the President's Men, David Shire does the score for that. And again, he's kind of like Michael Small, maybe not as atonal, but I think he did another one as well. Yes, he does the score for a film called Night Moves. We'll come to that. It's not in the top 10. But anyway, so The Parallax View, Warren Beatty's a journalist, and he stumbles some people at the start who were at an political assassination. It's at Space Needle, I think, in Seattle. They're all getting bumped off, they're all dying in car crashes and things like that. So he starts investigating, and he poses as someone else to basically get in with the Parallax Corporation, and they recruit people for special jobs. There's a great brainwashing sequence where he watches loads of images and phrases about America, and it lasts a long time. It probably lasts like 5 minutes. In actual fact, David Fincher copies this in The Game when Michael Douglas goes to CRS, is it? He goes there and he watches a video like this. So again, Fincher was influenced by this. But it's a brilliant sequence. What's weird with this film, it has weird narrative jumps. So Beatty will be somewhere, a sequence will finish, and the next thing is he's back at his apartment, and there's a great bit of a character actor. I'm not sure what his name is, but he's one of the recruiters, and he's really good. And Pakula shoots him, and the cinematography. They use a building for the Parallax Corporation. That's really coolly shot. It's really well shot, this film. And the climax is amazing. It's at a convention, but obviously they're just rehearsing for it. But the way it uses the space in the rafters, where Beatty is, again, it's the Patsy plot. This is the classic Patsy film, basically. I mean, if you've not seen it, I'll not spoil it, but anyway, it's a Patsy plot. But it's really paranoid, and again, I think you don't know really where you're at with this film. Like I said, you can kind of jump around. Last time I watched it, I was kind of struck by that, how unusual it is. Okay, so as usual with these things, I kind of stop at number 4. We go to part 2, which is the top 3. But let's just go back through. I had The Game at number 10, Blow Up at number 9, 8 Arlington Road, 7 3 Days of the Condor, 6 Blowout, and 5 All the President's Men, and 4 The Parallax View. I think with this, you can see Arlington Road aside, these films attract really good filmmakers. Not the guy who did Arlington Road's not a good filmmaker, but not at the level of these guys. Okay, so I'll see you for part 2.